Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I teach watercolor tutorials, a new one every week, and this week we are doing our night camping scene. Super fun, great colors, overall a good time. We are going to use 2 brushes in this tutorial. We're doing a round 6 and a round 2. These are the Let's Make Art brushes. They're great. I like them. If you have the Princeton brushes, those work great too. We love Princeton. If you have other brushes, use your other brushes. Basically, use what you have is what we're about here. We are going to use all 6 of our colors in this project. So, our first color is black. Our second color is sea blue, one of my favorite colors. Our third color is violet, one of my husband's favorite colors. Our next color is sepia. And for people who are saying sepia, I think you can say it both ways.
You can.
We looked it up.
Dictionary.
We looked it up. We also have lemon yellow. And our last color is bleed proof white. I'm not going to make a mark of it because the paper is white.
That looks great.
Also, your bleed proof white, even if it's a little dry, it reconstitutes with water, so don't stress. I have some dry areas and you just put some water on there and it brings it right back. We are going to do this tutorial in 5 steps. So our very first step, we're going to put in our sky and our water. Our second step, we're going to paint the inside of our tent, put in little glares on the water. Third step, we're going to do our trees. Fourth step, we're going to put in our ground. And the very last step, we're going to put in our stars and maybe some little glares on our water if you want to, if you need to. Okay, before we start painting, we need to do our outline, and then we'll do our oath, warm-ups, and start painting our project. So, for the outline, I like to tape mine onto my paper. I take my graphite paper, put it dark, shiny side down. Any mark that you make on the paper will transfer to your watercolor paper. Also, this is a circle.
Go on.
It is so hard to do a good circle even when you're tracing. You can tell here by my outline when I was trying to trace do the outline for the circle. See how it kind of has these waves? So there's a couple things that you can do. You can find like a plate or something that's the same size and just trace that. You can be okay with a little wonky circle, which is really how I like to live my life.
Yep.
Or you can like take tape and like tape off around the circle, but tape is straight, so you have to do a bunch of tiny little pieces.
Do you know how long that would take?
I would never do that because of how long that would take.
I've tried that.
How long does it take?
Hours. Rolls of tape.
I just want to say, I'm not patient, so I would not do that. But if you are willing to take the time to do it, that's probably the best way.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. That's the best way. It's not the realistic way for me, at least. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Also, I'd like to apologize. I touched my microphone and it made a horrible static sound.
Ooh.
And I can't remove that.
Ooh, okay. That's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just want to acknowledge that happened when people are really shocked.
Now I'm not going to use your paintbrush during this whole tutorial.
Challenge accepted.
Actually, that would be so hard just to use.
It'd take a long time.
Brock on this. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm a chatterbox. Okay. So you're going to press down, follow the lines. I always like to make a mark and then check it to see how light or dark it is. If I want it lighter, I just press really, really soft. See how much lighter that is compared to that? It's like barely touching it. Try and make your line as light as you possibly can to where you can still see what you're doing. But watercolor is transparent, so if you make dark marks, you're going to see them through the paint. I also tend to make mine a little bit darker while I'm teaching, just so you guys can see what I'm actually doing on camera. In this outline, I also included the outline for the trees because I know that some of you guys struggle with tree shape, and I thought it might be helpful if you guys can take a look at the silhouette of trees. so you guys can like see how really like funky they are actually.
That is very thoughtful. I struggle with trees.
Trees are hard.
Yeah.
Trees are hard. And so I just wanted you guys to see what the actual shape, like the outline of a tree would be, instead of me just being like, paint a tree here,
Paint
you know?
a tree, yeah, it's so easy. Paint a tree with bark.
And pine needles.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, pine tree, oh, pine tree.
Is that a real song?
No.
Oh, is that by like,
Christmas tree,
oh, Christmas tree? Also, I would like to say that trees are really funky. There's like a weird kind of tree, like every kind of tree has like a wonky one. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen some trees in nature where you're like, what exactly is going on here?
You look the same as the others, but there's something.
There's something off about you.
Left.
So that is why I really don't like stress about trees too much if I got a wonky one in there, because you would actually see that in nature. My favorite thing is in our watercolor group when people are like, I saw a wonky tree out in the wild, and they like take a picture and it's like the weirdest looking tree.
A wonky tree in the wild?
And I'm like, yes! It's really great.
New hashtag.
New hashtag.
Hashtag wonky tree in the wild.
Wonky tree in the wild. Post, share, let people know there's not only perfect trees.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, and here's my ground. And remember, outlines I use as general guidelines. So if you want to go a little off script than what's going on here, do it. All right. Okay, now we're going to do our oath. So if you can raise your right hand. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Good job. That was a soft one.
I tried to cover my mic so I wasn't as loud, but it didn't help at all. 0% help.
0% helping. Okay, for our warm-ups, we're just going to go over wet on wet. So wet on wet technique is when the surface is already wet and you drop in wet into the wet surface. So that's just water, and here is some paint I'm dropping into it. You could also do a little bit of a wash like that. So you're laying down the paint and the water simultaneously while it's still wet, dropping in some color. You could also drop in water drops as opposed to paint. This is how we're going to do our sky. So really just play. If you've never watercolored before and this is your very first time watercoloring ever, one, I would suggest watching my beginner series videos. And two, take a moment and just play with your materials. Just get used to them. Okay. The second thing we're going to go over is thin lines. So I'm going to take my round 2, get it wet, hit it off the side of the cup, grab a little bit of paint. To get thin lines, you're going to want to hold your brush vertical, so almost straight up and down. So I hold it differently when I'm doing thin lines. If you look at how I'm holding it like when I normally paint. Also, I would just like to say you can hold your paintbrush whatever way you want. Okay? It's fine.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry I got really passionate about that, but some people yell at other people for how they're holding their paintbrush, and for me, I'm like, if it gets the job done, what's the problem?
Yeah, it's fine.
Unless there's something out there I don't know, which is a huge possibility. They're like, if you hold it like that,
that takes away from your statement earlier.
You're right.
God dang it,
Standing
you know.
by it. Anyways, how I usually hold my paintbrush is like this, kind of like a pencil. When I do vertical lines, I hold it in between my thumb and my pointer finger, pretty much, and I just do light pressure lines. So light pressure, try and get as thin of a line as you can. So this is how I do my tree trunks, okay? It takes practice to be able to get thin lines, so do not get upset with yourself. Okay? And then the last thing is just the values. So this is important in this painting because that's how we communicate depth and like space. not like night sky space, but like depth in a painting, because of the value change. If our night sky was this same color or this same value through the entire thing, it would look really flat. Same with our water, as if you can't tell how far it goes. So the way to communicate how far something goes within a painting, whether it be water, sky, mountains, fields, you have to have value change. That is what's going to make your painting feel more dimensional.
So are some of those trees going to be closer and farther?
I did one here. You can see how that one's kind of a lighter value, so it seems more in the background. But I would say that this mostly applies with the sky and the water. If you want to make it seem like it's a thick forest with like layers and layers of trees that go back forever, then you are going to want to have a value change, light, medium, and dark in your trees. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to start with my sky using my wet on wet technique. I'm going to start with putting a dark value down first and letting it lighten up as we go down. So I'm going to grab color. I'm going to grab sea blue and some violet to get like more of a true blue. Look how gorgeous that blue is. If you want to put a little bit of black in there, you can. Don't use too much black though. If you use too much black, then it's going to make your sky look gray.
Interesting.
So I'm going to start by putting in my color.
That is a great color.
Isn't that good? And then immediately I'm going to grab water from my jar and start spreading out the color that I already laid down and filling up the area. Okay. Now while it is still wet, this is where you're going to want to drop in your other colors, your water textures, maybe even some salt if you feel so inclined. I'm going to grab some more color. Just kind of drop it in there. See what it does. The only thing I want you to kind of be wary of when you're doing this is sometimes when I say drop in color, people just will do this and leave it, okay? Which is fine if that's what you're going for. If you're not going for that though, you're gonna have these like dots all over your painting. So drop it in and then take your brush and kind of move it around. So it's not...
I'm gonna call them sky craters.
Yeah, we don't want a bunch of sky craters unless that's what you're going for, because you could be, you know what I mean? Like this is your painting, you can decide what you want to do with it.
That's true.
I do not want that though, so I'm going to mix it up. I'm also going to put in a little bit of yellow with my sea blue to get a green in here. And start dropping in a little bit of green, kind of like a Northern Lights feel.
That's what I was thinking this whole time actually.
Yeah, kind of give you that gorgeous feeling of when the sky is... I've never seen the Northern Lights in person. I would like to one day. Have you, Keenan?
I have not.
I wish I knew enough about Northern Lights to know where you could go.
Find out an interesting fact about them.
Okay.
You can hear them.
What?
You can hear the Northern Lights.
What?
That's all I know. I can't expound.
That's all you're gonna...
Please don't ask me another question.
That's all you're gonna tell us, or you're gonna leave us hanging?
Yes. Let me look up some fact.
Okay. Is it angels singing in people's minds because of the beauty? Or is it like, wah, like lightsaber waves?
Okay. I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Northern Lights, also known as Aurora Borealis. Yes? Aurora Borealis makes sounds. This says aurora sounds don't occur during every Northern Lights outburst, and they're usually brief and faint, requiring careful listening and a minimum background noise to be heard. Scientists still aren't sure exactly how the aurora sounds are created.
What? What? Is there a recording somewhere of what the sounds sound like?
There is one, but I'm not sure if I'll get an ad.
Oh, good call.
And it could just be obnoxiously loud.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll look into this further if you are curious, because I for sure am, and we'll have to listen to what that.
Maybe they know better. Maybe they know of a great recording somewhere.
Yeah, maybe you know where to go
Yeah.
to listen. Maybe you've heard it.
Ooh, tell us your story.
Let us know. Okay, you'll see here that I'm around like the tree lines. I'm not meticulously painting around the trees because I know the trees are going to be black or like a darker value than what the sky is. So I'm okay with kind of just doing a light wash kind of around it and overlapping those lines because I'm going to paint on top of it and it's darker. If the trees were going to stay lighter than the sky, then I would have to meticulously paint around the trees. Okay?
Oh, that makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sometimes I don't know if you're messing with me.
No, sorry.
Or...
Oh, I only if it's like a text or a message to where I know you really aren't sure. No, those look the same.
Okay, and I'm just kind of darkening my top value a little bit more. So I'm just doing another layer, kind of blending it out. There's kind of a purple hint here. I like that.
I do too.
It's nice. If that seems too yellow, like you guys can do little soft washes on top. So if that's like, oh, that's just reading really yellow. Well, let's just do some blue on top of it, my friend. NBD, no big deal. That toned down that yellow, made it a little bit more green. I just want to put some green up here. Just because colors are fun.
Colors are fun.
Okay, I'm going to leave my sky. I'm going to go do my water really quick. So I'm going to use that same blue, but if you want to switch up the blue you're using, that's just fine. And I'm going to do the darkest value where that water meets the shore. And we already released a camping tutorial for our Let's Make Art Matter for June, where I kind of go into more detail about why water is darker on the shore line, things like that. So if you're curious, you can watch that. I guess basically what I'm saying is I'm afraid to repeat a lot of the same information, you know? Maybe I shouldn't be scared. Okay, so I'm just using water to like start to blend this out. And I'm gonna grab a little bit of sea blue because I really love this like turquoisey blue and I want it to be in my water. I'm also lifting up my brush as I'm starting to go down and across because water is wet, and how we communicate when something is wet is how much the light reflects off of it, how glary it is pretty much. So that's why I'm lifting up my brush to leave some white spaces for the glare. Oh, that's pretty. And I'm going to do another little drop in while mine's still wet, so I'm going to drop in this darker value and kind of just let it move and spread. There we go. Okay, that was step 1. Good job. Now we're going to do step 2. We're going to do the inside of the tent, which is a yellow light, because a light is on inside. So I'm just going to take my yellow and paint inside. Now again, I'm just painting over the little wood stick that's holding up this tent because I know I'm going to paint that brown later and it will be darker than the yellow, so it's not a big deal. And then that light is going to kind of shine out from the tent. So I'm kind of putting a little bit of yellow on the ground in front, and I'm also going to take some yellow and drop it in here. Now, word of caution, if your water is still really wet and you drop yellow in it, you're gonna get green. If your water is dry, then you can do little like yellow highlights where there were white spaces. If you do it on top of the blue, it's gonna turn green. So I'm only doing yellow where there's white. If you didn't leave any white spaces, you have bleed proof white in your in this kit. So you should be able to put some white spaces in using that bleed proof white, and then you can put some yellow back in there. Okay, that was step 2. Now we're gonna do step 3, which is our trees. So I'm going to take black, mix a little bit of water in there so I get a good smooth consistency to paint with. And again, you wanna make sure your sky is dry. And I'm gonna start, you are more than welcome to just follow the outlines that I have and go with that. Or if you wanna like put in the trunks and do the leaves off of that, you are more than welcome to do that. So that would look like putting a trunk line in like so, and then doing marks.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Who is that?
Taylor and Caitlin are taking the trash out.
Oh. Just remember when you're doing your tree shapes, it's narrow at the top. So that's where your marks are going to be the smallest. And then when you get down to the bottom, that's when your marks are going to get bigger. So really whatever you feel comfortable doing. Well, that tree got a little wonky, but that's okay.
Hashtag wonky trees in the wild.
Hashtag wonky, it exists somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna get some more black, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Actually, there's this little guy coming off to the side. I need to put that in. And then the same thing over here. I also want you guys, if you're not going to like draw your trees and you want to just follow the outline, which is so great, have fun with filling in this outline. Be like, what weird marks can I make while I'm filling in this area? Because you don't want to just like, you don't want to take your brush and just do solid coloring in, okay? It's not going to feel as realistic when you do it this way. Look already the difference between like this one and this one. And the reason is because trees usually aren't pure, like a solid thing. There are a bunch of little pieces, so there's gonna be light through there. There's gonna be little sections, there's gonna be gaps. So when you lift your brush up, it gives you the opportunity to have gaps, which is more realistic to a tree. And now I'm just totally ignoring my outline and doing whatever I want, which I'm allowed to do. Okay, next one. And then like this one here, this one we're letting a lot of the trunk be seen. This is like more of a sparse tree. It's kind of empty, which is also good practice for you guys because not all trees have to be big and full.
Have you ever seen a redwood?
Yes.
I've only seen them once in my life.
I used to go to a science camp. I went to a science camp in 6th grade in Alliance. It was in a redwood camp, forest
Okay.
called Alliance Redwoods. And it was so beautiful. I can't even get over how beautiful it was.
I just can't understand. I can't comprehend how large those trees are still.
Yeah.
Enormous.
They're so beautiful. Okay, and then I got this big guy going on. They were so gorgeous.
It's interesting. When was the last time you went?
Well, so that was 6th grade, and then when I went out to California last summer with Brock for work, he was very passionate about being able to drive through a place where we could see the redwoods.
Cool.
So we saw more.
That's cool.
We like drove through a park. I don't know which state park it was, but it was just the size of them.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's because I was saying it was interesting because I don't remember the beauty of them so much as just the sheer size from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because they were just.
Okay, I guess it kind of. This is a good thing. Because I'm from Northern California.
Okay.
So I've seen those big trees, and you're just in awe at the sheer size.
Yes.
I have that same feeling when I come out here and I see the sky. Because it's so big here. It's so big. So it's that same feeling of almost, I don't want to say insignificance, but insignificance.
You're so tiny.
Because you're so small compared to it. And I remember our lettering artist, who's also from California, she always talks about like the clouds here and the sky. She actually lives in LA, so she really doesn't see that stuff. Okay. And then I have this little guy who doesn't have any leaves. So I'm just kind of following him, this shape. That. And there's another one in here that I just didn't include on the outline. And just so you guys know, you can like add more, you can do less, like take these outlines and then make them your own, you know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to do my light tree over here. So I'm going to add a little bit of water so it's a lighter value and fill in that tree so it looks farther away. And if you want to do that more over here, you guys are welcome to. Maybe I'll just do some kind of like branches sticking out. Don't go too crazy though. Too much of a good thing then becomes distracting.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we're going to move on to step 4, which is our ground. So I'm going to switch to my round 6. I'm going to grab my sepia and I'm going to mix it a little bit with my black. Now where the tree line kind of meets the ground, I'm going to go with a darker color. If I did straight brown here, then the trees would feel out of place. You have to make it feel like the trees are actually part of the ground instead of separate. So if I did my trees pure black and I did a light brown ground right underneath my trees, they would look really disjointed, like they don't make sense in the same painting. And that's because of the value difference. Value and color difference. So that's why I'm starting to make sure that the bottom of my ground where it meets the trees is a dark brown, and then it gets lighter as it comes across to the shore.
Will you mind your heat?
Heed. So I'm even dropping in a little bit of this dark brown while it's wet, just to let it like spread and let watercolor do its like beautiful thing where it looks really cool and we didn't have to do that much work. But it's important to also get a value change on this ground as well to communicate, here's the shoreline, and then back there a little bit are trees. It's not one thing that happens simultaneously. And if you want your brown to have more of a warmth feel to it, like yellow, you can mix your lemon yellow in there. If you want it to be really desaturated, you can actually just mix the black and brown together and get like a dark brown and then add water to that. It just kind of depends on what colors you're going for. I like a little bit of strong color in mine.
I do too.
So I'll just...
I got my brother to paint recently.
Oh, you did?
My oldest brother. He painted a tulip because I can teach a mean tulip.
You can teach a tulip.
And his colors were dark and very vibrant.
Really?
Yes.
Was it so fun?
Oh man, it was amazing. It was almost brooding.
Oh yeah.
It was cool.
So you guys can just see the color difference here. This one I made a dark brown and I just added water to it. That's the color you get. This one I made the dark brown and then I also put in just straight sepia and some yellow. So here's the color difference. And I don't think one is better than the other. It's just personal preference. I like the pure, I feel like it matches the rest of the painting by how vibrant and color everything is by doing that. But this might be more true depending on where you live to like the dirt you would see. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So again, I'm just a big fan of letting people make the choices they want to make and like not judging them for it, you know?
Totally.
It's their life, it's their painting. But try and have them match, because right now these feel like they don't belong in the same world. You know what I mean? Like that side and that side. I wanted to make a joke there, but I forgot the name of the show. What's that show that's on Netflix that's super popular and it has 11 in it?
I don't know that I can. Is the number 11?
Yeah, the girl's name is 11. The Upside Down.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You've never seen that show?
No.
Kenan, it's so good.
The Upside Down?
What is that show called?
Oh, it's not called The Upside Down.
No. It's,
I'm not going to look it up.
Oh, I'll look it up after. I'm sorry for whoever's watching and knows the name of it and is probably just yelling it at me, but I can't think of it. Anyways, they refer to an alternate universe where these monsters reside called the Upside Down. That's what that looked like to me.
That sounds like my kind of show.
I feel like you would love it. It is an excellent show. And there's 3 seasons.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
there's
good
gonna
binge
be
watch weekend.
there's gonna be a 4th too.
Oh, The Upside Down.
What is that called? Stranger Things.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Uh,
Oh, that's so funny. That is very popular.
It is. Okay, and then I'm gonna move a little bit of this brown color in front of my tent because like the tent is on the ground.
Do you want to scoot your tent to the right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and I feel pretty good. I'm gonna put in a little bit more black where these trees are meeting. Okay.
I just thought of a word in the, I'm not even sure anymore, the either Latvian, Russian, or Polish language that I learned years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's thank you. It might be you're welcome. But the way I remember it is just by saying spicy bowl. But it's spasibo.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think thank you is spasibo. But I could just be totally wrong.
Just so wrong.
It could be you're welcome. I have no idea. I can't remember now.
Or like something super offensive.
Yeah, it could be that too. I learned it from construction workers.
Okay. So we put it in our ground. What's left is the stars in the water and the color of our tent. I don't want to do the color of our tent just yet because our ground is wet because we just put it in. So I'm gonna pause on that and put in my stars and my water. Now that my water has dried, and just so you guys know, watercolor colors and values change slightly as paints dry. So that's why you kind of want to paint an area, let it dry, come back to it and see if you got to mess with it anymore. So when I did my water, it looked like it was dark enough when I painted it, but then it dried and it dried a little bit lighter than I anticipated, which is fine because I can just do another layer, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go in, darken up that shoreline. And you can use a round 6 or a round 2 on this. Totally up to you. Okay. Then I'm going to take my water and kind of spread that out. Okay, now I'm going to leave that for a second, and I'm going to do my stars in my sky. I feel good about my sky. I like the darkness, I like the color. Okay, so here's bleed proof white. If you've never used it before, it's like a thick consistency similar to acrylic. It's an opaque paint, which means if you lay it down, you're not going to see what's underneath. So I get my paintbrush wet. I'm going to pick up some white, and I'm going to hit my paintbrush on my finger. Get rid of anything nice and expensive around you because paint goes everywhere. And depending on how wet your brush is will determine how much splatter you get. So you could do a test run to see, or if you're feeling edgy, sometimes I just like go for it. Okay, that was not a big splatter, right? So I'm like, shoot, I need more water. So I'm gonna dip my paintbrush in the water, pick up a little bit more paint, try again. Okay, that was a little more. And then if you want to avoid some areas, you can take like anything. Like I could just use this reference card and cover up the areas that I want to cover, and then splatter. I'm gonna really grab some water here, because let's just see. Now the scary thing about grabbing a lot of water is sometimes you'll get like a big one.
Big chungus.
A big chungus. What is chungus?
I don't know.
I don't know if we should say things.
No, it's not. I don't think it's inappropriate.
Okay, okay.
I think it's okay.
Okay, good.
That's what I call our round 24 and 30 brush, just the big chungus.
The big chungus?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so there's some more. Now if you want them bigger and controllable, then you can just pinpoint some. Oh, here's where that big chungus came out. You just can't see it because it's on a lighter background.
That's incredibly convenient.
That is convenient. And if you want a shooting star feel, then while they're still wet, you just go boop, boop. I saw a shooting star last night.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's really beautiful.
I haven't seen a shooting star in a long time.
Me too, actually. There we go. Oh yeah. I'm gonna do a few more. I especially like it in the darker areas because that white really pops.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
If you wanted to make it look like your sky was spinning.
Spinning?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Could you do that with the direction of your stars?
Mm-hmm. And what you could do is, I would actually, and you would have to work quickly, but what I would imagine is you'd do a bunch of white dots, and then I would probably take like a credit card and just do one big smear.
What?
And that's what I would do to
Make it look like it's rotating.
Because then they would all be the same like direction and angle.
Oh.
If you did it individually, you could, but you would have to be really aware of like the direction of your line. So if you want to make it seem like they're all spinning on the same, I would just go boop.
Interesting.
Again, I've never tried that, so in theory it sounds like it would work, but maybe in practice it doesn't. So, but that's how I would do it.
That's a good idea.
Okay. And then for your water, if you want to put in some like highlights because you didn't leave enough white spaces, you can just go in. And again, the whites shows up better on the darker values. And because of how space works, my white lines like back near my tent are going to be thin and short and small, and then as they make their way out, they're going to get bigger and thicker, because that's how objects are in space. If I have a roll of tape, far away, it's going to look tiny. If I have it right next to my face, it's going to look huge.
Giant.
So it's that same concept of how things get smaller the farther away they are. Okay, now I just got to put in my tent. I'm going to put in my wood first here. I'm just kind of blending this ground a little bit. And now my tent color, and you guys can change your tent color. Of course, I think I actually saw someone paint this already with red, like a red tent, and it looked beautiful. So I did dark value on the top, and then use water and move the color down. And you guys can do that as many times as you want. If you want it to have like a pow of color, then you would just pick up color as you're blending. So like the top is like a dark blue, and then this is more pure sea blue. Just depends on how vibrant you want your tent to be. And, oh, one more thing. So that's it, but I noticed that I got some white stars on my ground. What you can do is you can just do another layer of brown, just so you know though that if it's sometimes the white will still kind of poke through after. So sometimes you might have to do a few layers to like totally cover it up. I don't actually totally mind that there are some like speckles on the ground though, because like maybe those are rocks.
Oh yeah.
And the moonlight is hitting them, or
Yep.
you know, like you just never know. So that's it. That's our painting.
Nice.
I hope you had fun with this. If you want further information on maybe sketching this out or like tent shapes and stuff, I go in actually a lot of detail in our Let's Make Art Matter for June for the day camping scene.
Yep.
If you're interested in maybe switching things up and not going exactly by this outline. If you need any of these supplies, you can find them at letsmakeart.com. If you want to share your work, we would love to see it. You can tag us on Instagram at Let's Go Make Art or hashtag Let's Make Art. And we have a Facebook community that is big and made up with a bunch of people at a bunch of different skill levels. It's great to go in and see what people are making, what they're learning. We can all learn something from each other, and that is called Let's Make Art Watercolor. So I think that's all I gotta say. Hold on. Look how cool my practice sheet is. Look at that wet on wet.
Oh my god.
Isn't that so cool?
Imagine if that was the sky.
Ah, I'm a fool.
Well, I wasn't saying that. Whoa.
No, look how gorgeous that
That
is.
is pretty.
I mean, this right here, this is why watercolor is so amazing. I did not mean to make that, but look how beautiful that is.
Beautiful.
Really embrace the accidental element of watercolor. It is
Lovely.
fantastic. It's just so fun and lovely. All of the good things. Okay, thanks for painting with me. You guys are awesome. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Keenan.
You're welcome.
Bye.